Hello, welcome back to today's video. Going to have a look at the weather next week's 10 days. For today's video, this takes us into the start of March. So all the focus is on the chance of some very cold and very wintry weather coming up next week. Been talking about it a lot in the videos over the past few days. We had the sudden stratospheric warming a few days ago, and actually there's been a further warming of the stratosphere, which I'll start off the video talking about in a moment. And now we are seeing the effects of that within the troposphere, as we're seeing the blocking signal increasing over the Arctic around Scandinavia. And so I think next week we are in for quite a cold spell. The question is, how cold will it get? And at the moment, the models are signaling the chance of a really cold spell of weather. I mean, we're talking about severe night frost, temperatures by day starting to get much of a freezing, despite the lateness of the year. But certainly getting ever more powerful now, but the indications are there that temperatures will struggle to get above freezing for much of next week, and the easterly winds could be bringing in quite a bit of snow with them as well. That to be determined as we get closer to the time frame. But there's been, I can tell you before we get on video, there's been no nasty surprises overnight for anybody who wants cold weather. All of the models are still going for a significant spell of cold and wintry conditions for next week. And as we count down the days with this, of course, we get through each individual sort of run of the models, then the reliability or the confidence of this coming off increases a little bit more as we get through each sort of model update without any downgrades or things start to go wrong. Then the confidence day by day that this comes off will begin to increase as well. So let's get on with it. And we're going to start off by looking at what's happening in the stratosphere. So we had the sudden stratospheric warming a few days ago at 30 HPA. That was it, a major warming of the stratosphere. Took temperatures to just under minus 30 degrees. But look at this, the black line has gone up further. It dropped down for a few days, a couple of days ago, but look at that, the black line has now gone up even further. And if you've been watching these videos regularly, you'll know that this sort of ended, this chart from the JMA ended at around minus 30. So I think that actually had to increase the scale of the chart up to minus 20 to stop this black line going off the chart, actually. So that's quite unusual that they've had to do that. But there we go. Major stratospheric warming is taking place. Again, a second burst of really significant warming, and what the implications of that are in a few weeks' time, we'll have to wait and see, because at the moment we're dealing with the effects of the first stratospheric warming that took place a few days ago. This is the temperature forecast from the Ecmwf website, from the Ecmwf model via the University of Berlin website. That's how stratospheric temperatures are looking at 30 HPA today, 20th of February. So that's across there is the North Pole of the Northern Hemisphere. You'll see around the North Pole we've got another major burst of warming. That's the sudden stratospheric warming that I just showed you at 30 HPA, taking the temperature up to that sort of level, around minus 30 to minus 25 degrees. So over the coming days, we are going to see that the temperature starts slow, because we can't maintain those very high temperatures indefinitely. So in around a week's time, still significantly warmer than average with the temperature at 30 HPA over North Pole in the stratosphere, but just lowering off a little bit, and then that trend continues up to day 10, which is the 1st of March, and we see that by then the temperatures are returning back closer to normal, although they'll still be a little bit above average even then. But you see the light blues, the pale blues are just beginning to reverse, to return. At the same time, we start to lose the reversal of the zonal winds. So we have the zonal winds go into reverse, go from westerlies to easterlies a few days ago. We are still at a very low level with the zonal winds. We are still in a reversal of the zonal winds. The black line here is a forecast from the Ecmwf. Very gradually that's starting to lift the zonal wind back into positive. I'm not sure if that takes into account the second warming of the stratosphere that's taking place right now, though. It's possible that the zonal winds will do something like this. They'll lift up into weakly positive territory, and then as that second warming affects the troposphere, we might find, or affects other layers of the stratosphere, we might find that the zonal winds go back negative again for a while. So I'm not sure if that does factor in the second warming that is occurring in the stratosphere right now. As I say, we're dealing mainly at the moment with the first warming of the stratosphere, and we are now seeing signs of extreme negativity within the Arctic Oscillation. So this is the AO observed and forecast chart. The black line tells where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. Red line's at the end where the GFS Ensemble's forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. And you can see, excuse me, the Arctic Oscillation is being forecast by the GFS Ensembles to plunge off a cliff and go extremely negative, going down to this sort of level. One or two ensemble members are going down to that sort of level. But that is a real collapse of the Arctic Oscillation from sort of this slightly positive territory, but will be in a few days' time, to a very, very negative level by the time you get through to the end of February and into the start of March. That's telling us it's the weather that's driving the index. That's telling us high pressure is very much locking in over the North Pole. And so that's the reason that we see the plunge into negativity of the Arctic Oscillation. And the same is true for the North Atlantic Oscillation. That's also now trending negative for the first time since back in November. So again, the black line tells where we've been with the NAO, red lines at the end where the GFS Ensemble's forecasting the NAO to go. Last time it was negative with the NAO was back in November. Since the start of December, we've gradually been trending more and more positive with the NAO. That's where we are right now. Still very positive, but look at this. All GFS Ensemble members are forecasting the NAO to go very negative by the time we get through to the early part of March. So both the indexes are plunging into negative territory, and that's telling us that the long wave pattern is undergoing a very fundamental change on anything that we've seen this winter. The blocking signal over the Arctic is increasing. Consequently, that's forcing low pressure in the jet stream to go through the Azores into the Mediterranean as high pressure forms around Iceland, and that's what's sending the NAO into negative territory as well. So these are the GFS ensembles. We're looking at Maidstone, down the far southeast of the country today. Very much in the firing line for these easterly winds that we've got coming up. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Maidstone. And we're going to be going cold in the coming days. Not desperately cold, we're going a little bit cooler than average through the rest of this week. The start of the weekend actually sees a very brief lift up. But then look at this. Here's the plunge still there on the GFS ensemble chart, going through from the end of the weekend and into next week. Those temperatures are plunging down to a very, very cold level. Those upper air temperatures going down to around -15 at 850 HPA. Some of them are going colder than that. We've got one outlier member that's actually going down to -20, 850 HPA. That's almost like what we saw in the January 1987 freeze. That went down to around -20 at 850 HPA. In the far southeast. Bear in mind that was January, this is the end of February, so not as cold as that down on the surface. But of course that would lead to bitterly cold weather and lots of heavy snow. It's an outlier. I think we are thinking about temperatures going down to around -15 in terms of the upper air temperatures. That means sort of temperatures around freezing, probably a little bit below by day. It means severe night frost, probably penetrating frost with the wind, and it also means the threat of snow. A lot of dry weather coming up over the next few days, but from the weekend into next week, precipitation spikes are returning. Not a desperately wet phase, but bear in mind all of those precipitation spikes, or nearly all of them, would be producing snow in the closing days of February and into March. Surface temperatures look like that. It's downhill all the way. Really, again, this is looking at Maidstone, so it's starting there. A little bit cool today, and it's going cooler through the rest of the week. You see day by day the temperatures are lowering, but then as we get through into the weekend and the start of next week, that's when the plunge takes place. So by the start of next week, those temperatures are generally hovering around freezing. That's 0 degrees just there, that's plus 10 just there, and that's minus 10 down there, and we see those temperatures hovering around freezing throughout much of next week, only ever so gradually starting to lift up perhaps through the first week of March. But even then, we're at a really cold level, only sort of 2, 3, 4 degrees with our maximums. Minimums going, going down to -5 at least for Maidstone. I suspect some of those ensemble members would take those minimum temperatures to an even lower level. Let's have a look at the temperature anomaly for the coming week, if we can get the chart to load up. So let's just stop that and reload it if we can. There we go. So temperature anomalies are looking like that from the 20th of February to 28th of February. All parts of Europe coming out colder than average. The British Isles and Ireland is included in that as well. So it just looks like Europe is plunging into the freezer in the week ahead. And this is going to try and reload as well. So let's have a go doing that. And precipitation anomalies are looking like that, coming out drier than average. So it's a drier and colder than average week coming up for the final week of February. Over in America, I showed you this earlier on yesterday. Colder than average in the northwestern parts of the states, warmer than average in the eastern part of the states. This is kind of similar to the big freeze of February 1991, which incidentally did follow a major warming of the stratosphere at the latter stages of January in 1991. What happened in 1991 through the first week to 10 days of February is that most of Europe was plunged into the freeze. The British Isles was included via a big Scandinavian high. But over on the other side of the Atlantic in America, eastern parts of the states actually had a record-breakingly warm period whilst we were shivering over in Europe and in the UK. There's a classic old forecast from Ian McCaskill on YouTube. Do have a look at that if you get time. That is from that first week of February 1991, where he's forecasting blizzards and a foot of snow and temperatures around -5 all day, that kind of very severe cold weather. And at the same time, he starts off the forecast looking at what's happening in America, where eastern parts of America, northeastern America, seeing temperatures up to around 70 Fahrenheit. So it's almost similar to that, but of course it's later on in the year. That was early February. This is the end of February into the start of March, so we won't be as cold as that particular freeze up, but the pattern that's bringing this is kind of like quite similar. Right, let's have a look at the GFS. So we've got the high pressure in over Scandinavia there as we go through into Friday, bringing in these gentle easterly winds. As we go through into Saturday, those easterly winds continue, and they are strengthening a little bit. Not really cold at this point, but you'll feel the chill at the end of the week and into the weekend as these east winds probably bring snow flurries onto the east coast. And then the easterly continues to strengthen as we go through into Sunday. So by this point, I suspect the south and east will be starting to feel quite bitter. Although the really cold air, it's still just to our east. There's the upper air temperatures for 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. That's the huge wedge of cold air that's sitting there over Scandinavia and central eastern parts of Europe. As I say, the upper air temperatures are not too cold first thing on Sunday, but by Monday we really have opened the door to those very bitterly cold easterly winds. So have a look at the upper air temperatures for Monday. The GFS is forecasting the -10 ice front be through the UK, and the -15 Celsius ice front is heading into the southeastern part of the country. Bitterly cold air, and no doubt dragging in a lot of heavy snow. The snow side of this is all to be determined, because a lot of this, at least initially, is going to be in the form of snow showers, and the models won't show that up very well until much closer to the time frame. But obviously I expect to see snow watches appearing by the time we get through to the end of the week and next weekend. That's the chart for Tuesday next week, and look at that, a huge blocking feature from Greenland to Scandinavia, a bitterly cold easterly wind driving in the air from Russia. There's the upper air temperatures looking exceptionally cold, really, with those upper air temperatures. The only thing that modifies it a little bit is the lateness of the year. The strength of the sun will mean this won't be as cold as it would have been if we'd had this kind of cold upper air, these kind of cold upper air temperatures in January or the end of December. It won't be as severe as that because of the strength of the sun. But even so, we're talking about ice days there, I would have thought, and we're talking about hard, maybe severe overnight frost, penetrating frost, and definitely snow showers being brought in off the North Sea. Just follow the isobars back, see how far east they're coming from. Air's originating from there, so obviously we are bringing the air in from Russia. And then this continues through into the middle of next week. That's Wednesday next week. The easterly wind is continuing. The block is going nowhere fast, so this is true locked in cold weather. Upper air temperatures remain very cold, if not perhaps even severely cold. And then at the end of next week, we're trying to bring low pressure up from the south again. Got very cold upper air temperatures continuing. That's day 10, Friday 2nd of March. There's low pressure in the channel, so that's probably producing a snow event for much of central and southern England. This looks like a prolonged and really quite serious cold week that's coming up through the course of next week, with a chance of quite a lot of snow. And then it keeps it cold into the extended range of this GFS run as well. So going right out to the very end of the run, which is 384 hours, Thursday the 8th of March. Look at this, low pressure's trying to come in from the Atlantic, but we still have that block of cold air to our north and east. So that's probably more heavy snow trying to get in from off the Atlantic. Excuse me, this is for GEM, and we see the wind is gently in from the east on Friday. The easy wind picks up a little bit on Saturday. It's not really until Sunday, but we've got this strong easterly starting to feed in, which will make it feel quite bitter. And then by Monday next week, we're off and running into a very cold spell of weather with those easy winds, a large area of high pressure over Scandinavia's classic beast from the east type weather pattern. Upper air temperatures looking very cold through the start of next week, and then this continues through the course of next week with the GEM. Again, upper air temperatures just look really cold. There's bringing in some sort of disturbance there on Wednesday. That's a long way off, but shows that within the very cold air, we've got instability. So that particular kink in the isobars there is a disturbance that's bringing more persistent snow in from the east. Again, upper air temperatures just look really, really cold. Notice how cold those upper air temperatures are for central parts of Europe. And into the sort of extended range of the GEM, this takes us to Thursday the 1st of March. Continues to be very cold. Actually, it turns even colder into the second half of next week. The GEM is taking temperatures below -15 at 850 HPA down in the south and the southeast of the country. That's how we finish up on day 10. Locked into cold weather. The high pressure's in over Greenland. The easterly winds are continuing, and the upper air temperatures remain very cold as well. So that's not breaking out of the cold weather anytime soon. And then finally, we'll just have a look at the Ecmwf. Remember, this was wobbling yesterday morning, but when I did last night's update, which has been very popular updates, had over 3,000 views, and I think it's nearly had 100 likes. So I think you enjoyed last night's video. Last night's video saw the Ecmwf kind of coming into line with the other models. Let's see whether that continues for this morning's ECM. So there we go, with a light easterly wind on Friday, and we keep that going into Saturday. The east wind is strengthening across England and Wales on Sunday, and then we go through into Monday, and here comes the cold air flooding in from the east. Supposed to be upper air temperatures for midnight on Monday, showing midnight sort of Sunday to Monday, showing that the cold air is just starting to arrive on the east coast. And then we go off and running through the course of next week into a very cold spell of weather with those easterly winds, low pressure developing within that cold air, bringing more persistent spells of snow. There's kinks in the isobars there in the North Sea, so that's bringing snow showers or maybe more persistent snow from the east. There's some sort of low pressure developing over Ireland as well that could bring heavy snow. There's the upper air temperatures looking really cold as well. And that's how we finish up on day 10 with the Ecmwf. Again, very much locked into blocking around Greenland and Iceland. The easterly wind is continuing there. There's the upper air temperatures, and they still look really, really cold. Indeed, so it's all on course. There's been no nasty surprises with the midnight runs of the models. They are all signalling a very significant spell of cold weather starting through the early part of next week. There has perhaps been a slight shift from bringing the coldest of the air in from Sunday to Monday, and that was kind of expected because not all the models were in agreement that we would bring the coldest of the air in on Sunday. But whether it's Sunday or Monday, essentially they are all singing from the same hymn sheet, which is basically going to turn very cold. The Scandinavian high is going to bring in those easterly winds, and they are going to deliver seriously cold upper air temperatures. Daytime temperatures probably hovering around freezing through much of next week. Hard overnight frost with a risk of ice, of course, as well. And also there will be a substantial risk of snow. That part of it is too far out to have any sort of confidence certainty in. We just know that from this kind of weather pattern, there does tend to be either snow showers coming in from the east. If there's disturbances, those snow showers will band up into longer spells of snow. And then there's also that ever-present risk towards the end of next week that we might try and bring low pressure up from the south, which brings more persistent snow from a southerly direction. So, no changes overnight. We're still in for quite a pronounced spell of cold weather. I'll bring you up to date with the midnight runs this evening. So, midday runs, I should say, of the models this evening. That'll be around 7 to 8 o'clock, something like that, so come back for that later on. But yeah, it's all still on course, so we'll wait and see what today's later model updates have to say. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.